Hey everybody and welcome! My name is Leapalot and this video chronicles my first attempt at a Hardcore Nuzlocke. The full rules that I'm using are in the description, but the short version is that in addition to standard Nuzlocke rules, which dictate that we must catch the first Pokemon on each route, name them, and then forever box them if they die a completely avoidable early death, I also can't use any items in battle other than held items. I can't level my Pokemon past the next gym trainer or the final Elite Four members ace, and I must keep the battle mode on set at all times. Just like Pokemon Fire Red, we're going to go light on the introduction here, but I do want to let you know that since this is my first attempt, I'm not going to restrict myself from using some of the better guaranteed encounters. That might be fun after I have a couple under my belt, but my fragile ego can't handle not succeeding at things the first time I try them, because I never learned the value in overcoming adversity, and if I think I can't do something, I'd rather not try than try and fail. Anyway. As the game starts, I basically just assume consciousness in the body of a 10-year-old and begin my quest to eradicate all life that I encounter, save for a few choice survivors. I attempt to start the killing spree, but Oak stops me and reminds me that I need a weapon, I mean a partner. I pick Bulbasaur here because he's going to be the best option for a Nuzlocke newbie like myself. Welcome to the team, Salami. You and I are going to do some terrible things. My rival, Seasonal Affective Disorder, challenges me to a fight. And when I live streamed a practice run, I actually wiped here on my first attempt, but not today. His Charmander goes down and the carnage begins. Now that the game has started, I can finally catch my first Pokemon, and it's a level 2 Pidgey on Route 1. I name him Chicken. Listen, I don't know. Anyway, despite being our first friend, Pidgey kind of sucks. So he'll join us for now, but let's not get attached to Chicken, okay? On Route 22, I catch a level 4 Mankey and name her Mortadella. She has a hasty nature, meaning her speed is increased but her defense is lowered, which is actually what Chicken had too. Mankey is already a bit of a glass cannon, so this is a bit dangerous. We'll definitely take another friend, but we need to be careful not to let her stub her toe on the coffee table or she'll be dead. I stop into Viridian Forest next to see what I could get here and rolled the 10% chance on a Kakuna, who I named Bologna. I'm not mad that I'll get a Beedrill, but this means that we're going to have to do a lot of switch training. Stepping back out into Route 2, I catch a Caterpie and name her Panchetta. Panchetta will eventually have the ability Compound Eyes as a Butterfree, so this is not a bad catch at all. Weird that I got both bugs though. Anyway, following a bit of quick training, I charge through Viridian Forest. Because I'm feeling a bit cheeky, I managed to get both Panchetta and Bologna to hit level 10 in the same battle. I entered the battle with 2 cocoons and I exited it with a wasp the size of a toddler and a butterfly that can make your eyeballs explode. Neat. Next up, Pewter City and Brock's Gym. This is it, my first gym battle in a Hardcore Nuzlocke ever. My heart is pounding as I sent little Salami out. I nervously click Vine Whip and watch as Geodude's HP melts down to 0. Listen, this was always going to be an easy fight. Next up is Onyx though, and he does manage to outspeed our lunch meat and hit a bind for 2 HP. That doesn't matter though because a single Vine Whip takes him out. Not a bad start. After defeating Brock, I was on Cloud 9. I pirouetted my way through the trainers on Route 3, absolutely devastating the stupid Shorts kid, and I catch a Spearow named Turkey. Goodbye, Chicken. I knew thee well. But actually Chicken stays with us for a while, because inside Mount Moon, I get a crit with Tackle and kill the Zubat that would have joined my team in his place. That probably won't be the last chance at a Zubat, but it still stinks. Mount Moon is no issue for my team of salty sluggers, and we emerge from the other side to catch my next encounter on Route 4, an Ekans. I was really hoping for a Rattata here, but oh well. I'm also hoping for an Intimidate Ekans here if I have to get an Ekans, but I get Shed Skin, which means Chicken has once again escaped the box. After a bit of light grinding, I have the rival fight before Nugget Bridge. My team doesn't really have an answer for flying types at the moment, so my plan, and it's a little shaky, is to lead with Panchetta. I'm going to make use of her Compound Eyes ability to almost guarantee Sleep Powder hits on round 1. Then I'll just try to clear it out with Confusion. Luckily enough, the Sleep Powder does hit, and even better, I'm able to confuse the Pidgeotto with Confusion, so that sleeping bird is doomed. Sad's dumb bird does wake up though, and break through Confusion to use Sand Attack. Which, okay, that does make me miss a Sleep Powder, but after it hits itself in Confusion, I can just use another Confusion to knock it out. Easy enough. Unfortunately, up next is Charmander, and just like flying, we don't have a great answer into fire types right now. So I'm just going to take a page out of Sad's book here and switch to Chicken, my own Pidgeotto. I use Sand Attack twice to lower Charmander's evasion, then just use Quick Attack to take it down. No problem at all. Next up is my rival's Abra, and this thing literally cannot do anything. I honestly question if Seasonal Affective Disorder has any grasp on Pokemon at all sometimes. I switch over to Bologna since she needs some experience and get up to +6 defense with Harden just for fun. Then I use Focus Energy to improve my crit percentage and fire away with Fury Attack. After a couple of rounds of that, Abra goes down and Rattata comes in. Since my defense is in the stratosphere, I just follow up with more Fury Attacks, and there we go. Easy peasy rival fight. I also have 2 new shots at encounters here, but realistically I only really care about trying to get an Abra. I don't really need an Oddish, and I already have everything else. On Route 24 I do encounter an Abra before an Oddish, so I use that same Compound Eyes Sleep Powder combo to knock it out. I decide, for some idiotic reason, to try to do some damage before throwing a Pokeball, and it wakes up immediately and teleports. That was dumb. But I have one more shot. On Route 25, I miraculously encounter an Abra before an Oddish again. Crazy good luck here. This time I don't mess around. I use Sleep Powder and throw a Pokeball, and we get him. Welcome to the team, Panchetta. Wait, isn't that Butterfree's name? Oh well. And with that, we say goodbye to Chicken. Smell you later. After that, it was just a matter of grinding until I felt comfortable to take on Misty. Since we have an Ivysaur, I got a little complacent and I didn't bother getting up to the level cap. Not a good idea to underestimate your opponent in a Nuzlocke, as I'll learn soon. Misty leads with Staryu, and I lead with Salami. Staryu outspeeds here, which isn't a huge surprise, but for some reason I didn't expect it after the mountains of slain Rattatas and Pidgeys we've left in our wake. It uses Harden here, which doesn't matter because all grass moves are special in Gen 3, but we still don't get the one-shot, which is concerning. Misty just uses a Super Potion, and we Vine Whip again. A Water Pulse then does trivial damage to us and doesn't get the confusion, so we knock out Staryu with another Vine Whip. Next is Starmie, the much more dangerous of the two. I start with a Vine Whip, but a Swift from Starmie does a worrying amount of damage. I gamble on a Sleep Powder next because I can't survive 2 more hits if one of them is a crit. Luckily the Sleep Powder connects, so it's off to Bologna, who just learned Twin Needle, a bug move that'll be super effective against Starmie's secondary Psychic type. Just one of those and we've won the battle. I expected a Salami sweep here though, so I think I need to be a little bit more careful about having a strategy that goes beyond brute force. Routes 5 and 6 provide 2 new encounters in the way of an Oddish named Capicola and a Meowth named Bresaola? I honestly don't know how to pronounce that. Bresaola might get some utility as a payday user, and if anything untoward happens to Salami, we might have room for Capicola, but I wouldn't get too excited about these. More importantly, we've now reached the point in the game where we have access to the Daycare Center. That means I have effectively free leveling of any Pokemon at any time. For this reason, I'm now going to allow myself to level up using rare candies. This is going to save me time grinding, but does come with a cost, since I will potentially lose out on stats via EV training. I'll be weighing whether rare candies or grinding make more sense for my team throughout the run, but I wanted to let you know now in the interest of transparency. In the Diglett Cave, I catch a Diglett named Spam, which is exactly what he's going to do. And on Route 11, I catch a Hypno named Dutch Loaf. Dutch Loaf will hopefully never see the light of day. He's a monster the likes of which Kanto should never experience. I also clean up some trainers for experience here before heading to the SS-An. The SS-An is another chance to embarrass seasonal affective disorders, so let's go straight there. My strategy this time is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I lead with Panchetta into Sad's Pidgeotto. Once again, I Sleep Powder it and send it snoozing before taking it down with Confusion. This time, it doesn't wake up. Charmeleon comes in next, and he's a little scarier than last time. I start by putting him to sleep before switching over to Spam. Unfortunately, Charmeleon gets the lucky one-turn sleep and wakes up to hit us with a painful Ember that also burns. I'm worried that a low magnitude roll plus the burn won't be a one-shot, so it's time to be a little creative. First I go over to Turkey, who sets up 2 Leers but takes 1 Growl, then I start using Peck. Charmeleon's first Ember crits but doesn't burn, and I can survive 1 more crit. So I stay in for another Peck, which leaves Charmeleon with like 2 HP. Dang. Then the Ember comes, no crit, but dangerously low HP. So I switch to Mortadella. She takes an Ember that drops her under half, but she should outspeed and kill Charmeleon here, and she does. Mortadella baits Kadabra, so I switch to my own Kadabra, Panchetta. Pancetta takes virtually no damage from a confusion, then I disable confusion, but for some reason, Sad's Kadabra goes for Kinesis. I decide to set up a Reflect, which was probably a waste, honestly, then switch over to Salami. Salami nails 2 Razor Leaves to put Kadabra down, and Sad's Raticate comes in. I start with a Sleep Powder, which hits even through my lowered accuracy, and next is a Leech Seed, which also hits. But Raticate wakes up. I spend the next couple turns trying to get another Sleep Powder, and he keeps going for a Tail Whip. I decide that I probably don't want to take a Hyper Fang with -3 defense, so I switch to Pancetta the Butterfree, the healthiest team member right now. Hyper Fang does in fact come, but doesn't crit, so there's no issue. A couple confusions, partnered with the Leech Seed damage, take out Raticate, and we've defeated our rival again. Then it's up the stairs to get the cut HM from the captain. If I had a nickel for every time I gave a strange old man a back massage in the cabin of his luxury liner, I would have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. After gaining access to cut, it's time to challenge Lieutenant Surge, but the hardest part of this gym fight was actually finding the switches. Spam rips off 3 magnitudes, including a massive magnitude 10 on Surge's Raichu, making quick work of the has-been soldier. On to Route 9. There are no new encounters on Route 9, so there's actually not really anything to speak of here, except for this completely innocuous trainer battle. I went into a battle with Hiker Allen, leading with Mortadella. I hit a Karate Chop here, but I didn't get the kill, and then Geodude nails Mortadella with a massive magnitude 9, knocking out the already weakened little monkey thing. Rest in peace, Mortadella. Your death was completely avoidable. I am so sorry. I got overconfident, and you paid the price. Well, anyway, my next encounter is a Voltorb on Route 10, and I've got Bologna back on the team temporarily. But she doesn't seem to like the idea of going back in the box, so she crits on her second attack with Twin Needle, costing me my first electric-type encounter of the game. Dang it, Bologna. The mistakes keep coming though as I run into Hiker Trent on the other side of the rock tunnel, and for reasons I truly don't understand myself, I go for Dig instead of Magnitude against his Graveler. He hits a Magnitude 8 on poor little Spam, and just like that, we've got our second death of the run. This was a teaching death. I mean, they all are, but this one taught me that you don't need to be fun or quirky in battles. If something is gonna kill the enemy, you use it. Don't take unnecessary risks, and get out of battle as quickly as possible. I want to say that I'll learn from this, that Spam's death won't be in vain, but I guess we'll have to see. Fortunately, in the rock tunnel, I caught a Geodude named Corned Beef, so at least we have a new teammate to fill a similar role to... what was Diglett's name again? On Route 8, I catch a Growlithe named Pimento, like Pimento Loaf, and I really love Growlithe. But fire attacks use special attack in Gen 3, and Pimento has an adamant nature, increasing his attack and decreasing his special attack. That's kind of a bummer. Arcanine is still a really strong Pokemon, so we'll have to see if it's worth keeping Pimento on the team. After catching Pimento though, our path is clear, straight to Celadon City to fight Erica. I make a pit stop to grab the Eevee first and name them Porkroll. I won't need Porkroll for this next fight, so he can stay in the box for now. My team is more than prepared for Erica's gym, even with all her grass types being exceptionally bulky. I lead with Turkey and peck my way through both her Victory Bell and her Tangela, before getting a little concerned about her continued poison damage during the fight with her ace Vileplume. I know it's going to be 3 hits to kill, so I head over to Salami the Ivysaur, who tanks an Acid fairly well. Grass types aren't immune to Sleep Powder until Gen 6, so I knock out the Stinky Flower and move over to Pancetta the Kadabra. One quick Psybeam and we're done with this gym. Not bad. From here, the whole world opens up a bit, and the level cap increases to 43 for Koga and Sabrina, so we have some room to adjust our team now. After the fight with Erica, I evolve Porkroll into Vaporeon, run around doing errands for random citizens of Kanto, and then head into the Rocket Hideout to challenge Giovanni for the first time. The entire Rocket Hideout is really no big deal. I take the opportunity to level up Porkroll and grab a bunch of items throughout, including the black glasses, which might get some use later. Unfortunately, I seriously underestimate Giovanni here. I lead with Porkroll, who rolls over Giovanni's Onix and Rhyhorn with a Water Pulse each, meaning Kangaskhan comes in and Porkroll is at full health. Kangaskhan starts things off with a Fake Out, which does monstrous damage, way more than I expected. I go for a Growl to drop her attack, knowing I'm dead to a crit here. She doesn't get the crit, but she does outspeed me, so I am in trouble. I switch to Salami, who survives back-to-back Mega Punches with 10 HP to get off a Sleep Powder. Unfortunately, Kangaskhan gets the 1-turn sleep, before I'm able to set up a leech seed and pivot away. So, down goes Salami. This one hurts. He's been with me since the very beginning, and while he wasn't always the star, he was always there, cheering everyone on and setting up the team for success. And now, thanks to my carelessness, he's gone before he could even publish his cookbook. I'm sorry, Salami, but we have to press on. I go to Pancetta the Butterfree next, desperately trying to figure out my strategy. The next few turns are tense. I sleep powder Kangaskhan and she wakes nearly immediately each time. Confusion is doing basically nothing to her, so when I finally have her asleep for more than a single turn, I switch over to Turkey. Pancetta could have died like 6 times in this fight, but unfortunately, I don't have a lot of options in the back. I was really careless leading into this fight, and everyone is paying for it. Turkey comes in to save the day though. She's strong enough to deal decent damage with Peck, and bulky enough that she survives a bite and a Mega Punch before Kangaskhan's reign of terror finally ends. So we win the fight, but we lose a precious friend and team member. Not good. After losing Salami, there was a hole in my team almost as big as the hole in my heart. I'm not sure how I want to fill Salami's spot yet, but for now I'm adding corned beef back to the team. I grab the HM for Fly and also run through the Pokemon Tower. This place means more to me during this run than it normally does. I can almost hear the voices of my fallen comrades urging me toward greatness. Or cursing me, I'm not sure which. Either way, I don't make any misplays against my underleveled rival, and these battles aren't very exciting, so let's skip this. In my search for a replacement for Salami, I end up moving down Route 12 and running into Snorlax. Snorlax is a fantastic Pokemon, but I'm not sure I can catch her without losing one of my own. I lead with Pancetta the Butterfree and use Sleep Powder. Thanks to Snorlax's held Chesto Berry, she immediately wakes up and claps back hard. But Pancetta survives and puts Snorlax back to sleep. Then it's off to Corned Beef to set up a couple defense curls and start throwing Pokeballs. I actually catch Snorlax at full health on her first rest. I name her Black Forest, like the ham, and replace Pancetta the Butterfree. That last battle really showed me that she deserves rest. She's been here all along, and I can't stand the idea of losing her to my own misplays. Don't worry though, she'll be back for a special guest appearance later. By the way, I know I mentioned it before, but I'll touch on this again. I've used and will continue to use a lot of the powerful static encounters in this game, which might seem a little unfair to seasoned Nuzlocke players. But this is the first time I'm doing a Hardcore Nuzlocke, so I'm giving myself a little extra slack. And if you don't like it, you can leave me a comment mocking me. Next up is Silphco and all the terrible warping that comes with it. The rival fight, however, goes off without a hitch. Black Forest is the MVP here, which should come as no surprise since she's a Snorlax with Yawn, Rest, and Leftovers. Not much worth talking about here. I do grab the Lapras here and name her Prime Rib, but she's mostly just my Vaporeon insurance plan if we're being honest. At the top of Silphco, though, lies my actual rival, Giovanni. Well, him and hikers Alan and Trent. Weird that I had 2 hiker moments. But Giovanni, I'm here for revenge. Giovanni leads with his Nidorino, and I lead with Pancetta the Kadabra. A single Psychic drops his Nidorino, which is no surprise. What is a surprise is that Giovanni brings out Nidoqueen next, since she's also weak to Psychic. I'm also underwhelmed by the damage Psychic does to her, but Pancetta easily shrugs off a double kick. My trainer docs say that this Nidoqueen has Body Slam, which would have certainly killed on a crit, and possibly even without one. Yikes. But we survive to fire off another Psychic, which brings out the one and only Kangaskhan. Salami's killer is here, and it's time to take her out with Salami's own replacement. Black Forest takes the stage again on a Tail Whip, and Kangaskhan hits another one as I select Yawn. I switch out to Corned Beef here, who tanks a Rage like it's nothing, then feel out Rock Blast, but it does virtually no damage with 2 hits, so I go back to Black Forest. Which is interesting since Kangaskhan wakes up. So I can just Yawn again here, and then 2 Brick Breaks take out the Murderer, and we're done. Oh wait, actually, Giovanni has a Rhyhorn left, I kind of forgot about that. Well, I yawn to get it ready for nap time. Are you noticing that I have a crutch? Listen, I learned earlier that trying to be cute gets people killed, so I'll play dirty if I have to. Then I head back to Corned Beef again, who uses 2 Magnitudes, both at 6, to dispatch the Rhyhorn. Other than Pancetta definitely being in danger, that was much cleaner than my last Giovanni fight. But there's obviously room for improvement. The next 20 minutes or so are a whirlwind of activity. I leave Sylph Tower behind, Master Ball in hand, and prepare for Sabrina's gym. I'm already right next door, and the level cap for her and Koga are the same after all. Before I get started though, I want to stop by the game center in Celadon City. I need a reliable way to one-shot Sabrina's psychic types, and fortunately I do have just the plan. Ghost type moves are all considered physical attacks in this gen, so I pick up the TM for Shadow Ball and teach it to Black Forest. That's right, it's time for more Snorlax Sweep. First though, I struggle my way through the puzzle designed for 3rd graders, before finally reaching Sabrina herself. She leads with Kadabra and I send out Black Forest. Unfortunately, Kadabra outspeeds and sets up a Reflect. I still get the one-shot, but this puts me in dangerous territory for Alakazam. But Mr. Mime is next, so we have some options here. Mrs. Mime goes for the barrier, and I hit a weak Shadow Ball. Then she hits a soft Psybeam and I set up Yawn. As her eyelids get heavy, she fires off one more Psybeam and I hit her with a Brick Break as she's snoozing. This destroys the Reflect, which didn't have much time left anyway, but now I can hit a Shadow Ball to knock out Mr. Mime and head to everyone's favorite Psychic type, Venomoth. A Body Slam doesn't get the one-shot, so Sabrina stalls with Hyper Potions for a bit, but eventually Black Forest knocks out the Lepidopteran loser, bringing in Alakazam. This was my only real concern in this fight, and his first turn shows why. He outspeeds and sets up with a Calm Mind, which honestly makes him much scarier than I'd like to admit. Fortunately, Black Forest has a decent attack stat, and Alakazam's defense is more like plywood than concrete. So we knock him out in one hit, winning us the Marsh badge. Why Marsh? Marshes aren't psychic. There's not even a marsh around here. After that, because I'm a jerk, I go next door to the dojo and sweep the entire building with Turkey using Drill Peck. I don't even want Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, but I take Hitmonchan and name him Norbert. Next up in my tour of Wanton Violence is Koga's gym. His trainers have more psychic and ground Pokemon than poison Pokemon, which is weird, but Koga himself is all poison all day. That makes him extremely susceptible to Panchetta the Kadabra. Koga leads with Coughing, who gets his brain melted with a Psychic. Next up is Muck, who actually survives a Psychic, but does get hit with a special defense drop, meaning another should kill. Panchetta hits, and that's really the last chance that Koga had. So after 2 more Pokemon and 2 more Psychics, we win our 6th gym badge. I make a quick pit stop here for the Surf TM and the Warden's Teeth, which, ew, by the way. I'm literally a 10-year-old kid with some dude's dentures in my backpack. Unfortunately, my encounter in the Safari Zone is Paris, which honestly might be worse than just not even getting anything. Into the box you go. Now that I have Surf, I head over to the Power Plant because I want a very specific Pokemon on my team. If I lead with Panchetta the Butterfree here, welcome back by the way friend, and use a Repel, I can only encounter Magneton or Electabuzz. Fortunately, I find a Magneton, so I use my Master Ball on them and name them Bacon. Magneton's Steel typing is just so good in Gen 3, and I really didn't have a good answer into Water types since Salami, you know. I level up Bacon on the water routes, but I honestly just do not care about the Seafoam Islands, so I skip them and head to Cinnabar from Pallet Town instead. Cinnabar Island has got to be the dumbest town in existence. There's an abandoned mansion, a gym, a fossil resurrection lab, a Pokemon Center, and a Pokemart. No one lives here, no one can commute here because the only ship in the universe sailed away 4 gym battles ago. Who was shopping at this Pokemart? Why are my Poketaxes paying for a gym on an island with no residential zoning? I honestly think this entire island is just here to launder money. It's no wonder Blaine just locks up the gym and goes on vacation. Anyway, I resurrect Aerodactyl as my encounter for the island because I want someone to replace both corned beef and turkey, and Aerodactyl can fill both those roles, and more. They're not dead, by the way, I'm just running out of room on my team. I try to name him Pate, but the squiggly characters aren't available, so his name is just Pate. After that, I recover the key to the gym and mentally prepare myself for the 7th gym. This fire-type gym is notorious for all the wrong reasons. I lead with Pork Roll here, and you may have noticed that I'm at a slight disadvantage. We're coming in at only level 44 for this fight, and that's all part of my elaborate plan to save time and be lazy. Since Pork Roll knows Surf, and it's even his first move, I can just press the A button a few times to win this fight. I'm a little surprised when Arcanine survives a Surf, but then again, I did come in 3 levels below the cap. But after Blaine heals, Pork Roll knocks out the Arcanine, proving that it was just a low damage roll. That's 7 badges down. The 8th badge though, this is where legends are born, where kings are crowned, where I use Surf 5 times in a row with Pork Roll for the 2nd gym in a row. Giovanni might have given us some trouble in the past as a crime lord, but as a gym leader, he gave us about as much trouble as Brock did. What a joke. With that, we've got all 8 badges and we're ready to take on the Elite Four. First though, we have another fight against Seasonal Affective Disorder. I lead with Pate here, and Sad leads with the same dumb Pidgeot he's been towing around the whole game. A single Rock Slide takes it out, so Sad brings in Gyarados. Since Gyarados has Intimidate, we need to switch out here. And what better pairing is there than noodly, ambiguously dragon-like fish thing and Bacon? Bacon gets hit with a nasty Hydro Pump, welcome to your first real battle by the way, before outspeeding Gyarados on the next turn and knocking him out with a single Thunderbolt. Neat. That brings in Charizard though, and we're not surviving a Flamethrower. I switch to Pimento, who has Flash Fire instead of Intimidate, and thus takes no damage from the Flamethrower, but after a pitiful bite, I realize Pimento isn't going to cut it. I bring in Black Forest on a Wing attack and set up a Yawn the next turn, taking another Wing attack, and a critical hit Slash in the process. Then, before Charizard has a chance to fall asleep, Black Forest paralyzes him with a Body Slam. Weird flex, but okay. I'm not 100% sure I'm in range for a kill with Body Slam here, but Black Forest doesn't leave it up to chance, ripping off a critical hit Body Slam to put Charizard in his place. In comes Rhyhorn, who uses Takedown as I set up a Yawn. Again. Sorry. Then I switch over to Pate, who shrugs off another Takedown as Rhyhorn falls asleep. After the recoil on those 2 takedowns, an Earthquake gets the one-shot, meaning that Yawn was probably useless. Are my sleep strats finally falling apart? First the paralysis, now this? Anyway, Execute comes in, so we crack him open with a Fly, and that just leaves Alakazam. Alakazam has Calm Mind here, so I really don't want to waste any time letting it set up. I consider switching, but just take the chance on a 90% Rock Slide, and down goes Alakazam. So now we can fight the Elite Four. But first, Victory Road. Victory Road is a silly place though, and my encounter is an Onix, who's the 7th best snake-like Pokemon in a game with 6 snake-like Pokemon, so let's just skip that. After Victory Road and before I challenge the Elite Four, I complete a training montage the likes of which the world has never seen. I train up everyone with the Macho Brace that Giovanni forgot in his gym when he moved to Brazil, maxing EVs and the stats I think they'll need most, and the result of all that training is this final team. Pate, the Aerodactyl, an up-and-comer who turned the tables on Sad and took down 4 of his Pokemon. Black Forest, a ham among hams. She's rock solid, and has really stepped up after Salami's untimely demise. Pimento, the Arcanine, really a wild card on the team. He hasn't done much yet, but he is pretty cute. Panchetta the Kadabra, the Pokemon I would least want to meet in a dark alley. Porkroll the Vaporeon, a tank, a monster, superior in every way to his older brother Pimento. He has drowned entire cities worth of Pokemon and humans alike. And Bacon, the Magneton, 3 magnets stuck together. This is the team that will win the championship, or die trying. First up in the Elite Four is Lorelei, the ice specialist, who just happens to have 4 water types as well. She leads with Dugong, and I send out Bacon, who gets the one-hit kill with a Thunderbolt. Lorelei brings in Cloyster next, who also falls to 1 single Thunderbolt. And Slowbro comes in after that. Slowbro actually... oh, nope, never mind. Just a one-shot. And then Lapras comes in. Lapras actually does survive with like 1 HP left, and hits us with a Confuse Ray. Her Citrus Berry activates, but she's still in the red, and I expect Lorelei to heal next turn. I use this opportunity to switch to Black Forest, who sets up a Yawn after taking relatively little damage from Surf. Lapras hits another Confuse Ray here, but Black Forest breaks through to hit a Brick Break for about half. Lapras snoozes, and Black Forest hits herself next turn, but after that, she breaks through the confusion completely to knock out Lapras with another Brick Break. This brings out Lorelei's final Pokemon, Jinx. The stuff of nightmares, honestly. I wanted Black Forest in for this fight anyway, so it ended up working pretty well that we switched when we did. What I didn't want was Black Forest to fall asleep right away and sleep through 4 Ice Punches before finally waking up to knock out Jinx with a Shadow Ball. Those clever sleep strats, turns out the enemy can also abuse status effects. I did have a Chesto Berry in my bag, but I still think the leftovers were the better play here. After Lorelei, the team has to conquer Bruno, the Macho Man fighting type Elite Four member with such classic fighting types as Onix and another Onix. Where's Primeape? Where's Poliwrath? You switch those 2 in and all of a sudden it's a full fighting team. Whatever. This one is a sweep for Pate, who has Earthquake to deal with the Onix, and Fly for the actual fighting types. Even with maxed attack EVs, Pate still doesn't cleanly knock out either Onix, but since they're both completely useless Pokemon, they miss their attacks and Pate takes 0 damage from this fight. GG, Bruno. GG. Agatha, the Ghost-type Elite Four member who is actually a Poison-type trainer, is next, and she's underwhelming. I lead with Black Forest here, which was actually a mistake. I wanted Pancetta out front and just wasn't thinking. This is the kind of stage where mistakes like that can cost lives, but Black Forest does have Shadow Ball, so we get the clean knockout on Agatha's first Gengar, even through a double team. Golbat is up next, and I opt for Yawn here to give myself a relatively safe switch. Black Forest gets confused, but does get the Yawn off. Then Golbat hits her for 30 damage with an Air Cutter, and she hits herself for another 29. How embarrassing. But Golbat is asleep, and that was the goal. So it's off to Pancetta, who Brain Blasts the rest of Agatha's Pokemon with Psychic. 3 down, 1 to go. Lance's team can be scary, but shouldn't be for us. Porkroll knows Ice Beam, and while I focused on special defense for him, he's still got a solid special attack stat. Lance leads with the classic Dragon-type Pokemon Gyarados, and Porkroll comes out and immediately gets his attack cut by Intimidate, but I don't care. We hit Gyarados with an Ice Beam and get a crit to bring him down to about a quarter before getting smacked with a Dragon Rage for minimal damage. The next Ice Beam knocks out Gyarados and the carnage truly begins. Lance's first Dragonair comes in just to get clapped by an Ice Beam, so naturally he brings in his other Dragonair to do the exact same. Excellent strategy. I am certainly taking notes. Then in comes Dragonite, who actually survives a 4-time super effective Ice Beam just to set up Safeguard, which I immediately forget he has done. Lance heals the next turn, and I go for Toxic, even though Dragonite literally used Safeguard not even 15 seconds ago, because I am an absolute melon. But fortunately, I'm not punished, as Porkroll outspeeds Dragonite on the next turn and rolls high enough to get the one-shot. And that brings in Lance's final Dragon Pokemon, Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl actually outspeeds us and gets off a fairly powerful wing attack, but then we follow up with a Surf, drowning Lance's last Pokemon and defeating the Elite Four. But, spoiler alert for a game that originally came out in the US in 1998, there's one more battle before we complete our challenge. Seasonal Affective Disorder somehow also beat everyone here, and it's up to us to finally finish this. Sad brings out his Pidgeot, more like Idgeot, and Porkroll gets off a powerful Ice Beam before he hits us with a Feather Dance to sharply lower our attack stat, which, just like Intimidate, is completely pointless. Sad goes for the heal here, and I just keep clicking Ice Beam. Not going to have another useless Toxic moment in this fight. One more Ice Beam after that grounds the bird forever, and Sad brings in Exeggutor. I head over to Pimento because, honestly, he has done absolutely nothing this entire game, and I really just want to give him a chance to shine. Unfortunately, Exeggutor hits a Sleep Powder, and even though I had a Chesto Berry, still, I didn't give it to anyone, so Pimento goes to sleep. Then he continues to sleep, for 4 more turns. Pimento, I literally just wanted to give you one opportunity to prove yourself, and you are asleep at the wheel right now. Well, Pimento won't survive a crit here, so it's time to switch. I go to Black Forest, who's bulky enough to shrug off a couple of Egg Bombs and try to get a Shadow Ball off. Unfortunately, Sad has been watching my highlights because he hits me with another Sleep Powder and continues the Seed Bomb Black Forest. She wakes up faster than Pimento to hit a Shadow Ball that deals just over half, but then Exeggutor hits a 3rd Sleep Powder in a row and follows it up with an Egg Bomb crit. Black Forest isn't going to die even from another crit, but this fight is not going well. We've only got one of Sad's Pokemon down. Fortunately, this sleep is brief, and Black Forest wakes up to get the kill and recover a bit of HP. Unfortunately, Alakazam is coming out next, and I know he outspeeds us. I didn't realize that Alakazam no longer has Calm Mind here at the time, so I assume he's going to set up with it. He doesn't though, and hits Black Forest with a Psychic that would absolutely have killed her if it crit. That was just pure luck bailing me out of my own mistake there. Black Forest gets her Yawn off, but it's time to switch out. Fortunately, I invested heavily into special defense with Porkroll, so Psychic only hits him for about a 4th, before Alakazam falls asleep. I don't want to waste much more time here, so I go for Surf, which does about 60% before Alakazam wakes up and hits another hard Psychic, but another Surf finishes him off, bringing in Sad's Rhydon, who is basically a sacrifice at this point to the Surf gods. Next on the roster is Gyarados, and I don't think I can get a one-shot with Ice Beam, so I go for Toxic here. A Thrash does more damage than I'm comfortable with, so it's off to Bacon, who handily takes a Thrash before protecting for some more Toxic damage. Then a Thunderbolt finishes off Gyarados, but Bacon is not who we need out for Charizard. Charizard is faster than any of my Pokemon except Pate, and there's no way Bacon survives a Fire Blast to get off a Thunderbolt. So it's finally time for Pimento to show the world what he's made of. You can do this, Pimento. You are a warrior, a poet, and a king. I switch to Pimento, and Charizard goes for Fire Blast. It connects and does nothing. Because remember, Pimento has Flash Fire instead of Intimidate. So Pimento, the key pivot here, finally plays a role. Sure, he's still asleep, but now Charizard is going to use Aerial Ace, which means I can safely switch over to Pate. Pate comes in and takes some trivial damage from Aerial Ace, then outspeeds and gets a one-shot with Rock Slide, knocking out Sad's final Pokemon and winning us the Nuzlocke. Spring has finally arrived. And you can finally rest easy, Salami. And those other 2 Pokemon. Well, that was a lot of fun. This was my first time trying a Hardcore Nuzlocke, and while I definitely eased myself into it by using static encounters and picking one of the easier games to complete, I think I learned a lot that I could apply to future playthroughs. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, consider doing the YouTube stuff like commenting, subscribing, and liking. It helps the channel, and it lets me know that people are into this kind of video. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.